Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Rachel Rubel. Those suffering from the world's worst humanitarian crisis have been given a new glimmer of hope after a series of deals were reached to quell the fighting in Yemen. Representatives from the warring parties met in the Swedish town of Rimbo, where they hashed out agreements that will impose ceasefires and allow for the flow of humanitarian assistance. Arriving on the last day of the peace talks, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres announced several breakthroughs, including the withdrawal of forces from the port of Hudaida, the exchange of thousands of prisoners, and establishing a humanitarian corridor into Yemen's third largest city of Taiz. In total, 15,000 prisoners will be exchanged in a sign of goodwill as Houthi fighters and forces backed by the Saudi coalition are expected to begin a phased withdrawal from the crucial port. If the ceasefire holds, it will reopen a lifeline where 90% of the country's food imports and 75% of its humanitarian needs pass through. Although hopes were high as the warring parties met face-to-face, major sticking points remain, including the status of the main airport in the capital, Sana'a. Previous peace agreements have crumbled, prompting warnings that international support needs to be at the forefront to prevent a similar fate. And joining me now is Kawkab al Thaibani, who is a co-founder of the Women for Yemen Network, and Hamid Al-Shejni, who is a political analyst and is the founder and CEO of Global Gate Group, a consultancy service for natural resources. Thank you both for joining me today. Dr. Hamid, I'll start with you. We've just had this ceasefire agreement reached after this week-long peace conference in Sweden. Do you think that the ceasefire will be successful this time around? And do you think the Yemeni people will be satisfied with it?
To start with, I think it's a good step, in the right direction, but it will depend on the intention. If the party intention is to have peace in Yemen and get the Yemenis to enjoy life and go back to normal, then it will work as a first step and it will build on. But if the parties are trying to play a game, i.e. we do it today, in that we gain some time to get more weapons, more support, and so on and so forth, then it is just doing stitches to a kind of a very big tear shirt, which is not going to help. I was hoping that we're going to see in this type of talk a kind of an agenda for a very permanent peace and a kind of solution to the major problem, which is having a civil government, having a democratic process, having an equal right, taking the militia out of the picture and joining the national army, and recognized as a party, not as a militant or a force that can control the situation. At the time being, recognizing any of the parties, be al-Houthi or those militant in the south, is not going to help, because by the end of the day, they don't represent the national unity of the Yemen. They don't represent the military. They are not. They are just creating problems, and they are proxy war for the outside world, i.e. for as we know at the time being the Saudis and the Iranian, and behind them are the United States and United Kingdom and the rest of the interest party that they have a major interest of selling weapons to this region and create wars in here and there, which is very sad. At the time being also, when you talk about now the human issue in here, none of the party are talking now about paying the Yemenis their own salary.
Right.
What I was expecting from the representative of the United Nations to say, look, both parties, you have to pay the Yemenis their own salary to start with. There is nothing else less than that. But at the time being, they say we're gonna collect money and then we might pay.
But this is a good first step.
It is a good step, depending on the intention. But at the same time, it doesn't say very specifically. It should be a kind of a government that's ruled by by law, by democratic process, by such and such.
I just want to interrupt you real quick because I want to get to Kawkab. I want to ask about the port city of Hudaida, of course, where the ceasefire will take place. We've seen billions of dollars of aid that has been pledged throughout this conflict, but it's not reached and made a positive impact on the people of Yemen. Do you think with the ceasefire that the port city of Hudaida will now be open and be able to receive this aid?
I think it's not this simple. It's very hard. Actually, Yemen has like issue even before the war has started, and that's why it has reached this level. And people who knows the Yemeni context, they know exactly why we reach this. We have a fragile state actually, and it was warned before that Yemen will reach this step at one point later. So, and when the war has come, it has like destroyed the rest functioning governmental system that is supporting the basic needs of the people. So, and also there is a misconception that the humanitarian aid is going to replace the commercial sector, and this is not what should be done in reality. The government has to come back, and also there should be more functioning commercial and also livelihoods driven, economic driven, rather than handouts of aid. These are, we can say, like a fast emergency support, but they're not going to replace commercial sector and economic growth of the country.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. Senate has taken the lead in condemning the disaster in Yemen, passing a measure that calls for an end to U.S. military support to the conflict. I want to play sound bites first from Senator Chris Murphy.
The United States has said through the Senate that our support for the Saudi-led coalition is no longer open-ended, that we expect our partners to be partners for peace, not just partners in war.
All right, well, there has been increased scrutiny on Saudi Arabia, particularly the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman following the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, with Yemen in particular getting intense focus. Dr. Hamid, do you believe that we'll see more pressure and similar measures from U.S. lawmakers to end military support in Yemen?
I think the American policy starts shifting to the right direction. We were very sad from the beginning that they support the allies, because what they should have done, they should have support everybody to have a solution. But we find at one stage, the United States, we're fighting with the Houthis in the ground to gain more